name is Hodge Flemings, and I'm the host for Tech MBA Minute. I have the distinct pleasure today of interviewing Kevin Carroll. I've had the opportunity to be able to meet Kevin through a friend of mine, Dwayne Edwards, who is the director of footwear design for brand Jordan. But Kevin, can you just give us a little background information about yourself, and then we'll go into some of the books and some of the other things that you're actually doing?
Oh, my story, Cliff Notes version, is a ball saved my life, and I truly believe that the power of sport and play can have the ability to impact lives in tremendous ways, and I've witnessed it all over the world. But because of sport and play, I've had a chance to get a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, be in the Air Force for 10 years, learn a bunch of languages, get an opportunity to work in the sports industry, in the NBA, also too for the Philadelphia 76ers, then for work for Nike for nearly 8 years as the catalyst with the K because of Kevin, and got a chance to help others turn ideas into reality all over the world. And then I left Nike in 2004 to embark on my own journey to be the orator on behalf of this movement where people are changing the world using a ball. So that's a Cliff Notes version of my story, real quick and stuff, but just know that if it wasn't for me discovering sport and play and a little red rubber ball at 6 years old, I know that I wouldn't be speaking with you right now, Hodge. I wouldn't be here. So I think a big part of what I always like to tell people is what's your red rubber ball? What are you chasing? What inspires you every single day and get you excited about getting up in the morning to go after your dreams?
Okay. Great. I'm going to just show a quick cover of one of your books here. I am a fan of your work. I have two of your books, and so this book is The Red Rubber Ball at Work. So I read both of your books, and again, so what we want to talk about today is that people might hear this word play, and they might get a misconception of play. So how does play impact the way that we work?
Well, I always like to say that play is serious business, and play is serious in business. And one of the things that people need to never get confused or get it twisted, as they say, whatever you want to put around that, is that without play there is no innovation, no creativity, no problem solving, no abstract thinking. You don't have to take my word for it. There's much too much research out there around the power and impact of play on our lives. Every single human being has a play history, and play has really played an amazing role in shaping how you build teams, how you communicate, how you solve problems, how you solve conflict, how you use your imagination, right? How you learn how to do more with less, how to be resilient and resourceful. Take any of those words, plug it into 2010, and what do we have? Something that can assist you with being successful, right? And it's something that you did when you were young, play, right? And so I tell people, find these amazing organizations that have playful cultures, and I'll show you somebody that is absolutely thriving in the 21st century in the midst of something that most adults have a tough time with, but these organizations are doing well with. Most adults have a tough time with change. And these organizations are thriving in this changing climate. And it's because they've recognized it's important to arm their employees and their individuals with creative confidence. And play helps with that.
Definitely. So if we think about, so are there any companies that you can think of that have created or used or really innovated and created a culture to where play is integrated into it and has really impacted their bottom line?
Well, obviously I can speak about Nike because I spent nearly 8 years there. You witnessed that. And they're in the sports industry. IDEO Design out of Palo Alto, California, phenomenal design firm. They have a beautiful, playful culture there, and it really has impacted them. They actually have a bicycle garage that's actually above head. And so it's really cool that they raise the bikes up with chains and they go across this wonderful construct, and the bikes actually are above your head. So they have a bike garage. But the reason that they encourage their employees to ride bikes is that the two co-founders, Tom and David Kelly, their whole thing was when they got a bike in their youth, it represented freedom to them. They could go to new places. And so they want to keep bikes around. Procter & Gamble has a phenomenal program called the Clay Street Project. And the Clay Street Project is an innovation incubation center, if you will, and they bring employees through there to give them creative confidence. Again, they go through a series of programs and functions to assist them with regaining and reawakening their creative muscle, their play muscle. General Mills is invested in innovation centers. I mean, there's a host of them out there. And I think one of the things that everybody's recognizing, and you brought it up earlier, is that we can't necessarily give you a big pay raise. We can't necessarily give you all these amazing bonuses. But what we can do is create an environment that is encouraging and inspiring. And so that's what a lot of these businesses are trying to do now, is to create those kinds of environments. And one of the ways they've recognized is, how do we arm you? How do we make you have confidence more? How do we create and increase your passion for what we're doing? Let's inspire you. So that's what they're trying to do.
Definitely, definitely. Because again, employees are going to become brand ambassadors. And so if you have a person that loves what they do, I think the quality of their work will be directly impacted without question on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's demonstrated time and time again, right? If you're invested in what it is and you have a shared investment in it and belief in the higher purpose of the work that you're doing every day, you're going to come in inspired and you're going to give the best of you, right?
Yes.
And I think, in the Olympic Games, there was a term in Greek term called arete, which is the highest level of virtue and integrity. And that's what the Greek Olympians were striving for, was a moment of arete, where you were at the highest level of virtue and integrity. And I think that each and every one of us are always trying to achieve our personal best, which is what we should be doing, which the Olympians did when we was talking about competition at that level. It was never about a trophy or a medal. It was always about personal best, your personal best. And I think organizations are realizing, how do I get the best out of somebody every day? It really starts with inspiring them and tapping into their passion.
Okay. Wow, that's really, really cool. So now, if we were to think about creating an environment at work where work and play could coexist, when you have people who are being downsized, things are being outsourced, what might be some ways that a company might want to do that?
Well, first it's really starting to create an environment that encourages being curious. So imagine if you're creating, things, finding unexpected things and keeping your head up and looking for things, and you're placing these unexpected things around your campus or your corporate setting so that people have to discover them. You also will learn, if people have their head down a lot, like most adults do, fixed on a screen, right? So if you start to place things around and then reward people for actually seeing something, right? So they actually are changing their perspective, literally looking up, discovering things. It creates a habit. So you have to start creating habits in people that allow them to see things differently, have eyes of a child, eyes of wonder, eyes of possibility. Then you also need to do some work with helping them identify their talents and their gifts. What are they bringing to bear every single day to what we're attempting to do, trying to make a difference in, or however our work, what our products are. If you don't know what your gift or talent is and what it is that you're bringing to the workplace every day, then there's no way that you're ever going to be at your best, because I don't know what I'm good at.
Okay.
I know I have this
point. So our last point, Kevin, how can an MBA program, I know that you believe in education, you have a master's degree, so how can higher education and MBA program integrate play so that they can produce higher quality students or assets coming out of the actual school?
Well, I think, we've been talking about a lot of things that really would be helpful in a MBA program. And one of the things to look at is, how do we actually talk about gifts and talents? How do we actually encourage people to recognize the role and value of being forever curious? Why not create some curriculum or classes around tapping into avocation and hobby, and why that's important? There's a beautiful book called Sparks of Genius by Dan and Michelle Root Bernstein, and they've done interviews and research on MacArthur Genius Grant recipients and Nobel laureates. And they interviewed them about how they got to this level of genius, how they got to a point where they were really exemplary at what they do. They found a remarkable coincidence or similarity amongst all of them, is that 95 out of 100 in each category, they interviewed 200, I think, total, 95 out of 100 of each of them had an avocation or hobby that they were equally passionate about, just as much as their work. Nobel laureates, MacArthur Genius Grant recipients. They also said that their breakthroughs came when they were doing their avocation or hobby. It wasn't when they were in their lab or their office. I always like to remind people, if it's good enough for a Nobel laureate, if play is good enough for a MacArthur Genius Grant recipient, shouldn't we take a little bit of pause to think about, hey, should I be playing more? Should I be enjoying something outside of what I got my head down grinding on it? Because maybe, just maybe, those Nobel laureates and MacArthur Genius Grant recipients know something,
Okay.
right? And I think the more that we start to understand in the programming and curriculums that putting in classes that talk about innovation and creativity and problem solving, but creating a business culture that supports innovation, creativity, and problem solving, and how you can do that and benchmark other organizations that are doing amazing work around that, identifying ways that you can really tap into the gifts and talents of your organization and then put that into a program or class. I think it would really enhance the MBA candidate when they leave out to go back into the business world, right? That they're going to be these leaders of the future. And one of the things that we know for sure is that leadership is going to require the ability to get the best out of people with limited resources. We're not going to have the same big budgets and we're not going to have the same head counts. So you're going to get challenged and you're going to have to be clever, creative, and have confidence. You're going to have that creative swagger, right? And I can solve this problem even if you take away head count, even if you take away resources. I got this. I got a way to come up with an idea around this because I got confidence. But if you don't have confidence, do you think your team's going to have confidence? If you got that deer in the headlights look, when they say we took budget, whatever, but you still better produce, and you're like, oh, I got nothing. Instead, bring it on. I got something. And my team is confident too, and we're going to bring it, right? And I think you all have to work on it while you're there because when you get thrust out into the world, you're going to be leaders. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we have to understand is that leaders, one of the key things, Primal Leadership by Daniel Goleman, in that he wrote that we want to talk about leaders as it relates to their business acumen, strategic planning, visioning, and all that, but there's something much more primal than being an effective leader in the 21st century. Great leaders inspire others to take action and to make dreams real. And the more that we think about that as leaders, especially you all who are, aspiring and soon to be great leaders and very important leaders in the business world, that inspiration is not a soft thing anymore. That inspiration and creating passion around the work is a very important objective. And I think that's a critical thing for people to think about. So how can you create more programs and classes around passion, purpose, and intention, and being able to instill that in your colleagues and in the people that are going to be working for you? I think that's going to be important.
Wow, that was good. That was a very, very salient point there. I like that, Kevin. Definitely.
Well, I'm sorry I got on my bully pulpit a little bit there. So, I do apologize, right? If I was something creative with that. I was hitting you over the head hard with some of that, but you asked the question, so
definitely, I got exactly what I asked for.
Yeah.
So now, Kevin, if someone wanted to find you online, where would they go to find you?
Well, if you simply Google Kevin Carroll and Catalyst with a K, K-A-T-A-L-Y-S-T, you'll find me there easily. And I mean, if it's about a ball and if it's about betterment or if it's about books, you pretty much can find me out there because I'm somewhere invested in all those things. My URL is kevincarrollcatalyst.com. And, I think there's a lot of things that you'll see on there that really reflect what I talk about, that a ball can change the world and, the power of sport and play is around us every single day. Don't have your head always locked down on a screen. Put your head up and look up every once in a while and change your perspective. You'd be surprised what you might see out there.
All right, Kevin. We greatly appreciate you. This is Hodge Fleming for the Tech MBA Minute.